This is Our Rough Draft, a podcast, real talk for real relationships.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft, where we share real stories from marriage, work, life, and the adventures along the way. We'll laugh, maybe get real, and hopefully help you spark some new conversations in your own life.
I'm Denise, the wild, emotional one who loves words and big ideas.
And I'm Tim. I'm the practical level one who fixes what she dreams of.
And this is Our Rough Draft, where we share the stories we're still living.
Hi, honey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
So,
Welcome to Our Rough Draft.
welcome to Our Rough Draft. We have been away for a minute. I don't know if we remember what we're doing.
I just love that our name is so appropriate because it's like we just come screeching into this thing and it truly is a rough draft. But
It is.
that's what makes us us.
So, you just came in from work.
I did.
Little commute.
Yep.
How's it going?
The commute or the job?
Yes.
Yeah, the job. The job, I'm 1 week and 1 day into it. So I told you it's like, a literal fire hose right now. And my boss is just, here's everything. And it's a lot right now. It's good. And it's a really different view of the skills that I've used before in a different company. Like it's going to challenge me in different ways, which I think is really, really positive. The commute,
Yeah.
I mean, commuting's commuting. Nobody
Yeah.
really enjoys that part.
Right. But I love what you said the other day about how it's like 36 miles. So it's supposed to take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
If it was like 10 miles and it took an hour, that'd be a pain
Yeah.
in the ass.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's for the most part, the way that I go, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Easy.
Yeah.
So at Albertsons now,
Yes.
in the real estate department,
Yep.
doing program management stuff.
Wow.
I know, it's like I pay attention.
You nailed it.
Sure.
Here's to you.
We're not on campus and it is not the morning, so we can drink.
Indeed.
So
How was your week?
good. Hosted grades today. Have a meeting tomorrow to kick off the new course that starts in January, just to bring everybody up to speed. 7 sections plus 2 online sections. So we have about 300 students taking the course next semester. All told, there's 7 of us teaching it. So I have to get all those other 6 people up to speed.
Yeah.
So that'll be tomorrow. So good. I just feel I feel 2 things about it. One, there are moments where I'm a total perfectionist, which I like to deny that part of me.
Interesting.
I know, like with teaching, it's a different kind of perfectionism, but I like the organic nature of teaching. When you go in, you see how people are feeling, you have content you want to deliver, but you read the room and you kind of figure out where people are. And that piece I love. That's not what I'm doing right now. I'm building a course that 6 other people have to use my content. So I'm building slide decks and narrative day at a time organizer so they know exactly what to say on which days. What did facilitator guide would
Yeah.
be the better word for that.
Oh, I've done so many of those.
I know. And they can teach it the way they want to, but I want them to have the bones of it so that they can build relationships with students and do all the things that is the organic, fun part of teaching.
But I think what you're talking about is a difference between content and delivery.
Yep.
And you are a content perfectionist and a delivery
Free flow.
fast and loose.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it also illustrates something that you said before, which is there's kind of different ways to get there. There's many different ways to get there. So here's the content. And more importantly, here's the end result you're trying to achieve, whether it's in a day, week, whatever, semester.
Yep.
So get there. And here's a map that'll guide you if you're unclear, but also you personally value flexibility and being able to kind of choose the right path. Yeah. Because to your point, take the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
Here's where we need to go today.
Yeah, absolutely. And the topic makes me feel a little bit like I have a little imposter syndrome.
Say more about that.
So the class is called Cultural Diversity in Education. I know. We changed the name of it. It used to be Understanding the Culturally Diverse Student. But really what the point of the course is to recognize that there are many identities in the world. And to be an effective teacher, you have to know the identities of your students and the cultures that they come from. so that you can best meet their needs.
Can you give a small example of how cultural identity impacts their learning experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the easiest ones to talk about is just about a individualistic society versus a collaborative society or a communal society, where if you are teaching and you make it all about competition and your students come from a more cohesive, collaborative background, they are not going to excel. And in fact, they might shut down because it feels too competitive, which you could also say too white, too patriarchal, too standard. All of those things that I think is where people freak out about cultural diversity, when it isn't about saying that one way is wrong. It's about matching the needs of the kids in the room. If you have a highly competitive, high-strung, all honors student, they will enjoy the competitive nature. But it doesn't mean that they also can't learn in a more communal way. And so you're constantly bobbing and weaving to get to that.
And in fact, you probably should stretch them a little bit more communally than competitively, right? Like,
yeah, I
develop
think so.
that muscle.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what this course seeks to do is to talk about these 7 areas of diversity and open lines of communication with first-year students to understand them more, so that when they encounter students with these different cultural attributes, ultimately where those cultural attributes intersect, that they can teach in those places so each of their students can be successful.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Other question.
Yeah.
Why do you feel imposter syndrome?
Because I'm a middle-aged white woman who outwardly you can't see where I identify culturally. And so we start with race and ethnicity. And so I feel a little bit of an imposter syndrome there because 2 of the other, I say full bird professors, like full professors who are teaching the course with me are women of color. And I don't want to ever come in like I have the answers. I know this is what you have to teach. It is me laying a framework out of this is how the course is designed, so we don't raise a ruckus and get people who don't like what we're talking about upset.
Right.
Sticking to the standards, making sure that this is what the state and the country want, right? It's all tied to standards. It's not us making it up. It isn't a political class. It is a pedagogical class. And I also like to rage against the machine, right? Like, so there's a piece of me that's like, well, we could push that a little further. And then one of my teaching partners, one of these women of color, is always like, all right, we can pull back from that a little bit. But I don't want to ever act like I know more than they do, because their lived experience is different than mine in the race and ethnicity bucket. But there's also, we talk about poverty and socioeconomic status. We talk about language and immigration. We talk about exceptionalities, whether that is physical or mental, either disabilities or exceptionalities. And so we talk about all these different things. And so in those, I don't feel that imposter syndrome. It's only in race and ethnicity because I want to honor it and not get it wrong.
I think, I don't even know if this is appropriate in the workplace or in a setting like that, but what it brings to mind for me is I think ASU does a good job of including in, like I've seen it in, syllabus form, or I think sometimes they start out presentations with it, or, like the acknowledgement of being on indigenous land. And I almost feel like it's that same way of, acknowledging I am a middle-aged white woman. So when it comes to race and ethnicity, I don't have the same lived experience as a lot of you in this class. However, I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that I'm coming from a place of, objectivity, open-mindedness, trying to learn with you, trying to, open your minds, whatever it is.
And I am learned in those areas, right? Like I've studied it and study
it's not like
all
you've
the time.
Just operating from the back of a van.
Right.
If there's anything wrong with vans.
one of my other classes, I went in the other day and I had just read an article about the difference between calling people Hispanic or Latino and Mexican. And I knew in my class I have a group of, I just graded all their final work, so they're not my students anymore, but a group of students who are from Mexico, first generation from Mexico. And I came in and I was talking about it. And I was like, there's an element of where it's okay to call somebody a Mexican because that's where they're from.
Right.
They're not from Spain.
Right.
They do not like claim Spain.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's this one student in there who he just lit up when I said that because I honored it, right? And let's talk about it and let's bring that into the room. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. I don't know. There are so many different preferences. There's so many different ways of identifying, right? Like you identify, to your point, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic background, religion.
Get into gender and orientation.
Oh my gosh, there's so many different ways. And I think you kind of pigeonhole people. Like you identify one diverse trait and that's the trait, right? Where to your point, somebody may be very proud to be identified as a Mexican. However, they may be even more proud to be identified as whatever.
Hey, that's a day 2. Yeah, that's what I teach on day 2.
Wow, nailed it.
Good job.
Look at me.
I know. Because it does, right? Like your intersectionality matters of all the different places and where you identify. And intersectionality has always been something that's been used to talk about marginalized groups. But I also think it's a way to talk about how we include each other. These are all the things that make up who I am.
Right.
And together, how strong are they?
Yeah.
And that's a pretty cool way to look at it.
Well, and I think it's also, you are nothing if not a storyteller who believes in other people telling their stories, right? You place a high premium on coaxing stories out of people. I mean, that's the whole reason we're here.
Right.
And I think that it shines a light on the need to be able to do that. That's a skill set that I think everybody needs. You need to be able to coax other people's stories out so that you can see their identity. You can see all of that intersectionality you're talking about where, yes, I'm this, but I'm also this. Like I've got a bunch of different things that make up my identity and I want you to know my story so you know all of those things. So you don't just see me as a middle-aged white guy.
Right. And in school that you don't just see kids as the kid who's struggling with math.
Yeah.
Or the kid who doesn't know their letters yet. It's who else are they?
Yeah.
And what is the full story? And how do you toggle each of those pieces of the story to like turn them on so that they can go further?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the essence of teaching, right? It's storytelling, but it's also teaching. It's finding out all those things so you can plug in the places where they need to go and help them find the places where they want to go.
Well, and I think in doing that, you're coaxing the best out of them versus, again, just treating them as one thing and you're not good at math. So therefore, you're never going to be good at math and you're probably not good at a lot of other stuff either.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's been my week. It's been remarkable to engage with my students this semester. It was such a great group of them. They could choose to do anything and they're choosing education.
That's important.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. In fact, I did a little podcasting with some of them. So that's coming for teacher appreciation. So any teachers out there who want to tell their stories, we're doing a little bit of that because it's fun.
Cool.
So I think even acknowledging the imposter syndrome is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's like, gosh, I have made all these choices with this course on purpose for good reasons. And yet they're all still through my filter.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be other good decisions that need to be made for the course. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good one.
Good.
Today, we're talking about college.
Look at that.
We'll just keep going. Because Thatcher graduates on Monday. It's so
cool.
exciting.
Yeah.
I think should tell our college stories. For the record, the rough draft record, at least, for our own memories, because our experiences are so different and those of our children are so different, but such put such goodness. And the fact that Thatch is graduating is so exciting. We'll have 2 who have graduated from ASU, 4 ASU degrees in the house after Monday. And I will be the lone college student next semester.
Yeah. That's weird.
So weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it that way, but you're right.
Yeah. So let's start with just a little college stories. When you think back to your first experience with college, what's a memory you have? Being
confused, being unsure, being unsatisfied. I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know, it was not gratifying at all in any way.
So you and I are both first generation college graduates.
Mhm.
Your mom's a nurse, but she went to a nursing school, not a
Mhm.
four-year college. So that piece of like not knowing how to navigate it is what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting coming from a first generation college family. So my sister went to college, graduated, but I never finished up until recently. It was, I think, an expectation without being like hammered home.
Mm.
So it just was, I think, because there was no conversation about what's next in my family, at least that I can remember. It wasn't like the conversation we've had with any of our kids. There's a million different paths for you once you graduate from high school. You can go directly into college. You can take a little bit of time off and figure out what you want to do. You can, go backpack Europe. You can join the military. Like, there's so many different things that you can do when you graduate. So for me, like, I didn't know that any of those other paths existed. I thought the only path that exists is you go to college and then you get a job. Like, that was the progression, I thought. So that's the reason why when I graduated high school, I went to college and started out with 2 years of community college that, again, just felt like a waste of time. I couldn't figure out what I wanted my major to be. I felt less than because I was going to a community college and, it wasn't really a college experience. I was living at home and then I would commute to college and I would, go back home. And so it felt like it was not anything that I expected it to be through no fault of the community college. Just that's what it was.
So back up before that, though, you had applied to colleges.
I had only applied. No, I only went to BCC. I only went to Bellevue Community College. I didn't apply anywhere else because I thought I couldn't, because I knew that my family couldn't afford tuition. I was paying for college. Community college is much cheaper than a 4-year university. So I figured, well, I'll do community college for a couple of years and I guess I'll figure it out after that and I'll apply for loans or whatever I need to do. And it was while I was in those 2 years that I applied at Western Washington University and University of Washington. Got accepted to both. So I could have easily continued my college career.
Right. But this was the dark ages and nobody helped anybody, right?
Right. Yeah.
So interesting. I did not know that. I thought that was new information for me. So what do you wish you would have known before you started college?
I think everything I know now. I think, and not to toot our own horn, but I think everything that we've talked to the boys about, where it's okay to not know and you don't have to.
Right.
And there's time to figure it out and you can do it in different ways. And Thatcher graduating from college right now is a result of him saying and believing that there was a slightly different path for him, that he was having trouble when he was here and needed some time to, reset, think about it, get some distance, whatever it might be, then come back to it and now graduating. That wouldn't have been knowledge that I had, and I wish I did.
Yeah, because it was years later that you went back and finished.
Decades later.
Right.
Yeah.
And only because Starbucks had the deal with ASU.
I think so.
I think if it had been a different college, you wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have.
Because we had such a love in our heart for ASU that it was a natural fit.
Yeah.
For you to do it.
It was right place, right time.
Yeah. So now 4 ASU degrees. You want me to tell you my story of college?
Yeah.
Well, I think people think and know that I love ASU with my whole heart.
But they don't know what you loved before.
Yeah.
And still.
And I didn't love ASU at the beginning. So I was a nerd in high school.
Still are.
Thanks. I wasn't like valedictorian or anything like that, but I had straight A's and yearbook editor and all of the things, and volleyball player, and got myself accepted to a lot of colleges. I applied all over the place. So my experience was very different from yours. So the summer before my senior year, I went to New York City and studied at Columbia. It was amazing, and applied all over the place. Applied to Columbia, Northwestern, random colleges in the middle. Not ASU, because at that point, ASU was party school, and I was a nerd and I wanted to go do big things. And I got accepted to Columbia and turned down all the other schools. I had volleyball scholarships to a couple of those places in the middle. Columbia's volleyball team was welcoming and all of those things, but there was no scholarships for an Ivy League school. So I forewent those choices and chose Columbia, and was so excited, so proud to get into an Ivy League school. Worked really hard.
As you should have been.
Yeah. Worked really hard, was so excited. I turned down every other place. And then actually the day that the fees were due, my biological father said, "So sorry, I'm not going to pay." So backstory to that, my parents got divorced, as we know, when I was a baby, and neither of them had any money at that point. But what my mom had done in the divorce was minimal child support. Like, I think there were months he paid $50. At the most he ever paid was $200, but he was also responsible for paying for college. So he knew from the time I was 6 months old that that was his responsibility. He wasn't super involved when I was in high school, so I don't think he knew what I was capable
your
of.
aspirations. And
Yeah. And now looking back, knowing his two other kids and his other family both went to UC Davis, which is where he went. That was what he thought was success, University of California, which I got into, but that's not where I wanted to go. And I had already said no to all these places I had gotten into. And so I was going to Columbia. And my mom and stepdad said, we'll figure it out. We'll pay for Columbia, and we can take him to court and figure it out. And I just couldn't. I had two little brothers at home. It wasn't theirs to pay for. Like, it was never on the radar for them to do.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, we will take him to court, and we figured that out. And in the meantime, my boyfriend at the time was going to ASU. And so I thought, well, I can go to ASU and play for a year and then figure it out and go to Columbia. It did not work out that way. Newsflash.
Spoiler alert.
I went to Columbia every year and visited, but I stayed at ASU because we did do the court thing, and the judge ruled that, yes, he had to pay for college, but since I was at ASU, that's where he had to pay for. And at the time, the dark ages, ASU was so cheap and Columbia was still so expensive. And so it was like so much difference. Spoiler alert there too. He didn't pay for ASU. I did. But that's okay. I stayed at ASU.
Just keeps failing.
It was so hard. So that first semester I was at ASU, I embraced it, because I was just there. I was going to play, and it was going to be great. I didn't like when it was under 70 to go to class, and I didn't like early morning classes, and I didn't like classes that were too far away. So other than those three things, I did great that first semester. I don't think
anything's changed there, to be honest.
Those are all still real things about me.
Yeah.
But then when the judge decided that was going to be the situation, then I got pretty sad. And that New Year's Eve was when David Brown died, my yearbook advisor from high school. So I debated whether or not to come back or just stay in San Diego for this semester. Ironically, now two of the people that I consider like educational mentors are the people who are at San Diego State's Teachers College. So that would have been weird to switch there and had them as teachers. I don't think my path would have been the same, but it would have been interesting. So came back to ASU, finished up that first year, and then Adrian, my boyfriend at the time, left. He went home to San Diego, and I stayed. I mean, we're still friends with him, but I'll hold that grudge for almost ever. He'll probably tell it that I broke up with him and he left, but that's probably a part of the story that I forget, but true. But I stayed at ASU and I was an RA and
What's an RA?
a resident assistant. So I lived in the dorm and I put on basically professional development and team building stuff for the people who lived on my floor. Also, not much has changed.
Still such a nerd.
I loved that job and it paid for my room and board. So that was great. But I was really unhappy. There was a period of time that, man, I just didn't want to be here. I was so upset. I was so let down. And it was doing all my general ed requirements in lecture halls of 500 people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could have been in Columbia with 20 people, right? And it was probably unhealthy that I stayed friends with Jim, who was at Columbia, so I could like get real-time updates about what was going on there and what I was missing. And I was thinking about it as I was kind of prepping for this episode of like when it shifted. Like when did I say, all right, I'm going to be here and it's going to be great. It was people.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a common theme in just about any story. It's not necessarily place, it's typically people.
Yeah.
Like I think about Keith.
Yeah, that was 100%.
Jen.
When those people surrounded me, it became my place because I had my people and I still have those same people.
Yeah.
Right? Steve and like, I mean, even the peripheral people, right? Like we went and watched Chandler play Mesa last year and Steve was coaching and Lester was coaching the other team. And it just like, I was 20 again because those were my people. And yeah, so it was the people around me, but then also my degree because my classes got smaller. So all of a sudden, my professors also knew me and I knew the other people in the classes. And I could, again, excel and be noticed for being smart. And people always talk about ASU being a party school and all that. And I got pretty good at that too. Just to put a little bookmark in that, we campaigned to be the #1 party school, just like we campaign now to be a leader of innovation, right? You put your packet together, you send it off, you're like, please notice us.
Yeah.
We want that because that got people to enroll and to come here. It wasn't like we partied every day, mostly. I mean, we did quite a bit. We had a really good time, but it didn't feel like giant parties because it was just us, maybe.
Yeah, we don't have time in this episode to tell all of those stories.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah. So that was how I got here. And it is a part of me now. And I wouldn't be who I am without ASU. Of the friendships, the diversity of thought, the hugeness of it, the football, the basketball. I went to work for the basketball team. I traveled. Like there was so much goodness. You know, we were at USC when an earthquake hit, right, for a basketball game. But because of those things, it also brought me back closer to my family again because my family loved basketball. So we would go over to LA for the games and they would come up or we would drive over for a football game and then we would show up at my mom's house and we would all have dinner. Like it just kind of like brought it all back together. Eric came over and went to Bill Frieder's basketball camp when I worked for the camp during the summers. I just was a conduit for my people to like support me and build me back up.
Well, and you mentioned, the concept of, I'm paraphrasing wildly right now, but like our past makes us who we are right now. Yeah. And that's an obvious statement, but you can't see that in the moment. Mm-hmm. You can only see it in hindsight. And when you think about our paths, for me, one of the things I didn't mention about my community college experience, shout out Bellevue Community College.
Which is now a full college.
Which is now Bellevue College, yeah. One of my memories was I was going there during the first Gulf War. And I remember being drawn to the student union so I could see the news on TV. I remember buying a newspaper and sitting on the grass and reading all the coverage about the Gulf War. And I think that was really the thing that kind of cemented and triggered that desire to serve in me. I think that was the kickoff of this obsession that then lasted until 1997 and led me to sign up. So I think that experience, for all of its, maybe not fond memories, led me down that path, or kind of helped me down that path. I wasn't satisfied in school. I was thinking I should have joined the military. Like, that was a kind of a persistent thought at that time. For you, I think about, there's a lot of prestige in going to Columbia. And I think that, it's anybody that even just gets accepted is to be admired, but you probably would have majored in journalism, and you probably would have become some kind of journalist or a writer. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But your passion is helping others. Your passion is teaching and developing. And maybe your journalism career would have led down that path naturally, but you don't know that. Your path right now was formed in family resources and human development, like in that building on the Tempe campus. Like, that's what really forged your kind of future path.
Yeah.
So, like, you kind of are who you are because of that, and that path kind of fit naturally, I think, with you.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that you bring up the Gulf War. While I was an RA at Manzanita, so the tallest building in Tempe at the time, there's now going to be 2 taller than it, which I'm not quite sure I'm comfortable with. But I was an RA during the Gulf War, and we, as a staff, would come together and have our staff meetings. And my boss was Clint, who we're still friends with. His son lived with Cooper freshman year, and Clint and Shelley were the hall directors at Manzanita in Maine and got married, and they were both my boss in such a small little world. Or I guess you just keep your people, right? Maybe it's not a small world. You just keep your people. But we had this jar, and we would put slips of paper in it of what we were proud of. So we called it the pride jar, right? And so then at staff meetings, you would pick something out and you would say, I'm proud of, you would read other people's. And this guy, Mike, every time would put it in, I'm proud to be an American. And so we would bust into song and all of that. And then Chris, who was on staff, his brother was serving. And then Boz, who was on staff, was from Israel and Israeli army and all of that. And so I think I learned more about the military working at Manzanita than I had ever known previously. So then years later, when I moved to Seattle and I meet you, I'm not scared of it because I had experience. If I hadn't had that, I wouldn't have understood that pride piece. And so you're right. Like, just those little things that are put on your path that you learn to navigate and accept and believe in, like, become the gate opens, right? Like the next level. Zelda, is that right? Like when you do the right thing and then the next place goes and you can do it.
I don't think I've ever played Zelda.
I loved Zelda, the original one.
Oh, I know. You're big on it.
I wish I still
You talk about it all the time.
Do I?
It's strange.
I'm not a video game
Random
player,
video game.
but I do love Zelda. So that was my college experience, was this kind of crazy ASU thing. But I still think that there was a piece for a lot of years where I wasn't proud to be an ASU alumni. Like, I always had to couch it in.
But I got into Columbia.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know what my equivalent to that is?
Tell me.
I got into UW.
And you'll say that.
Yep, I will. I mean, when I, like, previously when I told my story, I would always say I got accepted, I was ready to go, and I literally on the day of orientation decided not to continue with college. So I always want to make it as I rejected it because I want people to know, like, it was this
smart enough, good enough.
Yeah.
All
it
of
was
the things.
always this thing because I always felt so embarrassed about not graduating from college. I always, like, it was just this burden around my neck. So I always had to make sure that people understood that I got accepted to University of Washington. Back then, and I'm not trying to put myself down, but back then the requirements were different. Right now, I think it's much tougher for an average kid from Bellevue. When
do you think we embraced the ASU lifestyle? Like going to games and stuff?
I think before we even moved down here. I mean, we traveled. You guys traveled to Pullman to watch football. We went to see basketball.
Yeah, so that I was trying to pinpoint that timing. So I think it was when we moved back from Wenatchee.
I think so.
And I think that's an interesting piece because I think when we were talking that last episode about friends that we exited, there was such a competition there of enoughness.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I mean, I had gone back and gotten my master's at that point, obviously, but it was almost like we didn't have to keep performing for them.
Yeah. We can embrace
who
ASU.
and what we were, and ASU was a part of that story. Yeah. And maybe there was something there about I went back and got my master's in teaching, and so I had another degree. Let's tell that part of the story, though. You were in Iraq. I decided I wanted to go back to school. I quit my job, did all the crazy stuff. Like that all happened. Mm-hmm. That's real. And decided I wanted to go back to school and get my master's in teaching so I could move from marketing communication world to teaching. And I discovered in the process that I had never graduated from ASU.
That's right. I forgot.
Which, wow.
That was such an epic fail.
It was so, I mean, that was a decade later. And I realized when I went to get my transcripts to apply to my master's program that I was short in credits. And I had walked, I have pictures, I have the thing, but the diploma never came in it. And I never worried about it. Yeah. Because in some fields, you don't need that diploma to do anything. I just put it on my resume. Nobody would check. Right. Come to find out, Julie also didn't graduate from University of Oregon. Kind of same thing happened. Found all that out at the same time. I think that mid-90s record keeping at the college level was not good.
Well, and it was, and you didn't have the same access to it.
No, it was all paper.
Now. Like I can when I went back, I could literally track every single credit and I could see the progress and I knew that I had all the requirements fulfilled. But back then.
Yeah. So I had to take a class and I took it.
Do you remember what it was?
It was a child development class.
I mean, why not go for the slam dunk?
Freaking awesome, right? And I had to do observations.
Yeah.
And they sent me VHS tapes of classrooms and I would plug it in and I'd have to watch and code them and that type of thing to be able to get that final credit to be able to then get my diploma and apply for my master's. But I think all of that was a part of it. And we did start going to football games and basketball games and getting involved with the alumni association. Then fast forward, she was the only place that Thatcher applied because that's what he knew as a kid. This was where he was going to come. So the fact that he's graduating on Monday is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. I mean, just to bring it full circle with where we started, I mean, I was telling you the other day, I can't imagine how excited he is if this is how excited I am for him. I'm just giddy about it. Like, and it was the same for Cooper. I mean, when Cooper graduated, it was just such and not because it was ASU, but because like, I think we know our own stories. And I mean, especially for me, it was such a struggle and it just wasn't the right thing. And I think that our kids have gone through some of the same things and they've persevered and they've been able to make it work in different ways. Yeah, I mean, Cooper did his 4 years and graduated. Thatcher took a little bit longer, but I think what I identify with is that sense of I did something, I accomplished something, and that sense of accomplishment I think is huge.
Yeah.
So I'm just proud of both of them.
I don't think we talk about it enough in higher ed, but the number of people who don't finish college is remarkable. And there's a lot going on right now where people have lost trust with higher ed and that type of thing. And Dr. Crow will say it. We have got to figure out how to get more people all the way through. Because the fact that people come to college and they leave with debt and not a degree is problematic.
Yeah.
And so that has to be solved for. Yeah. But we also have to talk about mental health in college and the supports that people need and not worrying about late policies and attendance when a kid is struggling. And you figure it out and you help them. So it doesn't diminish the degree if you help somebody. It doesn't diminish the class if you help somebody. I have students that I've had every semester that just need a little bit more. So you give them a little bit more. They actually learn it better. When I have students who are sick, like legitimately like, Waters, I can't make it. Can I make up the work that I missed? Can I go and look at your slide deck and do the assignments? Yes. Like you want to learn it? Yes, let me not stand in your way.
I can't think of, and I could be really wrong about this, but I can't think of any time post-college where you wouldn't get that same level of support.
Right.
If you are
In
sick
any job.
at work, you don't go in. And the next day, you catch up on what you missed, the meetings, the projects, whatever it is. But for some reason, up until probably fairly recently, college has been this
It's still that way, honey.
this memorization thing, and you don't get any grace and you don't get any leeway, and we're gonna
So a lot of people who still believe that. And I think it isn't just college. I think it's K-12 education is the same way.
yeah, I mean,
Because
that's
it's
fair.
really hard for a teacher to take a day off.
Yeah.
So we need to develop systems that support team teaching, groups of people responsible for kids so that it's not on one person when they need to take a day off.
Yeah.
Because that's just silly that we create these systems where people have to burn out to take time off, which is just unhealthy and unwise.
Agreed. I want to go back to something at the
Yeah.
beginning. I don't think can continue to say that you rage against the machine without actually listening to the band.
I listen to a little of,
You don't. You're not a fan. Did they show up on your Wrapped this year?
no. Was Rage on your Wrapped?
It was, which I feel is a little bit, you talk about imposter syndrome. I also have imposter syndrome because I'm literally a middle-aged white guy who was in the military. I'm
You are the machine.
kind of the machine. Like, I don't know if anything gets more machiney than I am. And yet that's,
Fair enough.
we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I did a whole 60-song playlist for this new course that's launching. I'm so excited.
That's a lot of songs.
Yeah, it was really fun to do. Yeah, so that'll be a fun piece to it too, because why wouldn't you have a playlist to go with your class? Have you ever had a playlist to go with a class?
No, and I can
But
think of
everybody should. That should be the new thing. Are you really a professor if you don't have a playlist that goes along with your class?
Fair. It's
Yeah.
fair.
And I tried to find a Taylor song to put on it. There wasn't one. So that's a little sad. My Wrapped, though, just to call out my Wrapped, said I was 21.
I know.
21, baby.
Mine was 46.
Nice. All of my students were older than me from their music likes. That's okay.
Are we even close to being on topic?
We were talking about college. College?
Just had to check in on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So we've talked about all these different paths.
Yep.
What do they teach us about what it means to grow up, to be an adult?
Oh, I mean, I think it's easy to say this in hindsight. There are so many paths, and nobody gets to tell you which one of those paths is right except for you. And you won't know that it's right until you feel it's right. And that sounds like fortune cookie bullshit. But like, again, going back to the whole point of whether implied or assumed, I think we all at some point believe there's this. It's a straight line from here to here, whatever it might be. And that straight line might be short or it might be really long. And it's not. And I feel so sorry for people nowadays that do think it's a straight line, like our kids. I mean, and I think that we fairly early on tried to be very intentional with telling our kids that like adulthood is, and this is going to sound like maybe a Rage Against the Machine song. Adulthood is a myth.
Yeah.
Or it's a construct. It's made up. It's
yeah, for sure.
You watch TV, you see commercials, you see movies, and they show you what adulthood looks like. It doesn't have to.
And I don't believe anything you just said. Like,
wow, that's another spoiler alert.
Like that straight line concept is not for me.
No, and that's what I'm saying though. Like, I don't believe in it either.
Right, but you did at one point.
Oh, hell yes, I did.
Right, and
yeah.
and I think we've had disagreements sometimes because I don't believe in the straight line.
Yeah,
I believe in everything should bring me joy, and how do I find those things?
Yeah.
That fill up my little joy basket. Just picture it like flowers.
Oh, I do. I know exactly what it looks like. I can picture it in my mind. But I think that that's an area that you have broken me.
Well, it's broken me too on a number of occasions.
But I mean, like, I don't know that I would have naturally strayed from that straight path until I met you and realized that there is no straight path and it doesn't have to be a straight path. And I think that I was unwilling to accept it at first. You get married. you have kids, you live in a house, you like
Yeah.
that's a straight path also, right? Like from 1 to 2 to 3, there's natural progression. I think to a certain extent we followed that, but God knows the rest of our journey has been anything but a straight path. And it made me uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. Like I'm not comfortable with not going from 1 to 2 to 3. Like that's the reason why there's a step 1, a step 2, and a step 3. And you're like, well, there's a step 1, but there's also a step 7. And that looks really interesting. And then I'm going to jump to 29, then go back to 2. And I'm like, holy.
But it's also painful for the person who's jumping from 29 to 7. Just telling you, on any given day, it's hard. Like my doctorate program right now. Like I said, I was walking with a friend and I said, it is just not bringing me joy right now. And she looked at me like straight, what do the kids say? Dead ass. I don't think it's supposed to. And I was like, well, that's bullshit because I will find a way for it to bring me joy or I will not do it, period. So stay tuned.
Tune in next week to find out if Denise is still in her doctorate program.
I'm staying in for at least the next semester. One semester at a time.
After
and
that,
I'm going to find some fucking joy if it kills me and everybody else in the system. I know.
I don't think you can say that on the air.
I don't mean like anything bad's going to happen to them other than they're going to have to try and figure out how to go from 29 to 7 back to 14 to 33, right? Because it doesn't work for me to do it the way that everybody else does it.
I know it doesn't. And there's been so many times where internally, I've just had this conversation in my head, like sometimes people can go from 1 to 2 to 3, like, and you realize how much easier it would be on your mental health if you went from 1 to 2 to 3, or if you, not if you did it, if you resigned yourself to the fact that that's how it worked. I don't say that.
No, because people do say that to me and it makes me double down on it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, but you treat those other people nicer than you treat me.
Not always.
Because if it was me that said that, you'd be like, oh, you like start pulling on the boxing gloves.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I have been in situations where it hasn't gone the way I've wanted it to go, and I've had to figure it out. So at this point in my life, I want it to go the way I want it to go and enjoy it. And it doesn't mean that, like, I don't know, like that makes me sound like I'm totally entitled princess, and that's not it. I want it to work better and work better for other people too. But it also has to be joyful and positive and a delight even.
I think that's a really important point because I think that it can very much come across as entitled princess, and not anything you're saying, but the concept of what you're talking about, where I want it to work the way I want it to, is very entitled. Just that statement alone is very much an entitled princess statement until people get to know you and understand the motivation behind that statement, which to your point is, I want it to work better.
Yeah.
And you're always doing that.
Yeah.
Why do I have to stand in this line? It'd be so much more efficient if they did X, Y, and Z and they could put this, like, I see the way that it should work and I don't know why it doesn't work this way. And this is stupid.
Yeah.
It like, that's just the way that your mind thinks, is there's a better way to do this. I can see it. And not just better for me, but better for everybody around me.
Right. And the world is changing so quickly right now, right? If we just stay with college for a minute, which was the episode topic. So
which is where we should be.
The things that we have to pull off in the next decade are crazy because everything is against us. The current administration and the way that everything is funded, from international students to grants to research to there are fewer 15, 16, 17-year-olds right now. And so the on-ramp to the number of 18-year-olds is decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
So we are hitting this kind of enrollment cliff. At the same time, K-12 is kind of failing because there's micro schools and homeschools and all these different unschool, all these different ways to do it that are saying, do I really need college? Can I do college in 3 years? Can I do it hybrid? We're pushing more and more college into the high school. Like, we have to pull off something pretty miraculous to continue to exist. And I think...
I have a thought.
Can
Go
you
ahead.
remember it?
I think so.
We have to be able to do something different, because if what we want is the college experience where you find your people and you become an alumni who wants to go to football games and who donates their money back to the university and has their kids go there and creates this kind of legacy around the community, you can't have that if kids don't go to school there. And sports at the same time is jumping off the cliff with NIL and all of that. So you have no athletes who have the loyalty at the same time. And they're so separate from the student population that there's no like intermingling.
Yeah.
It's a mess right now. And in order to solve for that, we have to look at the 10,000 foot, 20,000 foot view and fix things fast in an organization that moves slower than an aircraft carrier. Cannot turn on a dime, loves the fact that they are methodical. We can't anymore. And there's sections and areas within ASU who are embracing the change and embracing the speed. And that's where I want to go, is with those people. The people who want to slow it down, make it harder, stay in the same ways, they can stay there, but they're going to be limited in what they can do. So I think there's just a lot happening right now. But you had a thought.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I'll see that and I'll raise you one, which is what happens to society when college becomes, I don't want to say non-existent, but not as important. Because studies show that is where you develop your kind of adult identity that a lot of people carry forward.
Yeah.
Like this is, because to your point, I go to college, I'm exposed to different people than I've seen before or interacted with.
Different thinking.
I'm exposed to much different thinking than maybe I've had up until this point. So it challenges a lot of my preconceived notions, my ways of being, my thoughts, my ideas, all of that. And maybe I come out of it the same person I was when I went in, but a lot of people don't. And so what do you do to society by not having that interactive experience?
What do you do for the long-term health of people? Because if all of a sudden you're going and getting your forever job at 18, you're going to burn out, right? We already see, I don't know the numbers, but it's something like 7 jobs in your lifetime is now like 15 for this new generation. So then loyalty also ceases to exist, right? Loyalty is something that we learn in college. Like those are my colors.
Right.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Because that's not happening in high school anymore. And so all of a sudden you're creating all these like individual pathways where there's not even a second place for people.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're not staying in jobs long enough for it to be their second place.
Yep.
They're not in a college. So forget the third place idea. Like we're all just disconnected individuals with nothing to come together around. Add to that the current politics, all of that, where you're only listening to the people who agree with you. Like it's an ugly, sad, scary slope. So go to college. Yay! But I think go to the college that makes sense for you, where you feel like you can find your people and do it in a way that's economical. So that is a piece that I do still love about ASU, is that it is affordable. I think in my classes, at least, the population of students in my classroom matches the population of the people in the state of Arizona. And we define ourselves by who we include and how they succeed, and take fundamental responsibilities for those communities. That's the work.
And I know that anybody who's listened to our podcast, I think there's
more than 3.
20-something people out there, maybe. I think anybody who's listened knows that we're passionate about ASU.
Yeah.
I think the reason that I'm most passionate about ASU is exactly what you just said, which is the mission statement of including everybody. And you could look at that and be very pragmatic or pessimistic about it and say, well, you're including everybody because everybody pays tuition and it's more money for them. That's
and how they succeed.
Yeah, let's not take that view of it. Let's take the succeeding version of it. And let's also, to your point, look at how representative it is of the communities in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical because what you're doing is showing people that this college has people that look like you, think like you, have family backgrounds like you, understand you, whatever it might be. I mean, now as a university, you have to back that up.
Right. It's not perfect. And there's definitely places where it can grow, but
there's more universities out there that pride themselves, and you and I have had this conversation, on being very exclusive and selective. And what they wind up with is a university that does not match the community that they're in.
No, they match each other.
They match each other, or they match this idealized view of what they want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of really good things that people get from college, and it'll be interesting to see what Mason's experience is, because he's flat out refused to get college credit for the classes he's taking. So he can be dual enrolled in like half of his classes. And he's like, no, I don't want that, because when I go to college, I want to do college.
And I think he's smart for doing that.
I do too. I don't.
In hindsight, Cooper's experience was good for him at the time, but I don't feel like served him well later on in life. Like, I shouldn't say that. That's an extreme statement, but that pressure that he felt of, I already have 2 years of college under my belt, coming into college, coming into ASU.
Yeah, I feel like was that straight line.
Yeah.
I wish he would have taken that and been like, look what else I could do.
Yeah.
And I can go play. But he doesn't play, like his mom. But that's okay. He is doing great now. I just love this conversation. I think it's a good place to ask questions about what was the college experience that you had? What do you want the college experience to be for your kids? I want them to find people that they love and that they have something similar. The similarities are greater than the differences. And I think what I love about ASU and my experience with the Alumni Association has been, even people that I didn't go to ASU with at the same time, we've become friends with because we have it in common, and it gives you a place to go and a thing to do. So that's what I want for my kids, and to be able to have colors and logos and put things on and cheer on Saturdays, and we have basketball tomorrow night, and just enjoy it, because there's enough heart in the world. Like, there should just be some fun.
There should be 100%.
Yeah. So with all that being said, next week we will have 4 Sun Devil graduates in the house. Go Devils.
Go Devils.